Okay, cosine law. Again, you can write here for me. You're going to write non-right angled. Please write that. All right, thank you for being patient. Put your focus back on me. So, again, sine law and cosine law for non-right angled triangles. If you look at this triangle here and you attempt to do the sine law, and if you're away yesterday, remember for sine law, you have to find the vertex and the opposite side. So the only angle that's given is the 36, so you would have to use this side. But they don't give you that information. All right, so they give you the side 6, so you'd have to use angle B. Except they don't give you the angle at B. So you literally cannot use sine law. There's just too many unknowns. For the sine law, you would put sine of some angle with the opposite side. Okay, so for that one, I would put, what would go here for capital A? 36, and then what would go here? Question mark. Good. Now I would need sine B. And what would go with B? 6, right? So, but I'll just put B. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Still learning this new program. Okay, so again, so I know A, that's a check, but I don't know little a. That's a problem. I think that was just a coincidence, right? But please focus on me enough, whatever you're doing over there. And then B, do I know B? Capital B? No. And little b is 6, so that's okay. If you want to do the sine law, that's the whole point of what I'm trying to show here. If you want to do the sine law, you have to know 3 out of those 4. You can't have 2 unknown. You can only have 1 at known. Okay, so let me jot that down for you. 1 unknown is fine, not 2. So we cannot use the sine law here. And that's the whole introduction to this lesson, is like, if you can't use the sine law, is there another law that you can use? And that'll be this one, cosine law. Okay, so, and I'll just give you another little tip. What you're going to be looking for is this. SAS. SAS. Not like when someone's giving you some attitude, thank you. Not that kind of SAS. It is side angle side. So what does that mean, side angle side? This is a side, do you agree? This is an angle, and this is another side. You see how that angle is squished between 2 sides? It's not to blow your mind, it's just to show you that when you see SAS, I could just use cosine law. Okay, so when you're doing your exam, if you see a side angle side situation, you can do a cosine law. Okay? Because it's one thing to be able to do the homework for the cosine law while you're doing the cosine law, so you know the cosine law is coming. It's another thing to be able to do it when there's mixed questions. Okay? I am not going to do this example. It wants me to use SOHCAHTOA and then compare it later. So we're not going to do that. You could use SOHCAHTOA. It's just extra steps. You'd have to problem solve. You have to draw new triangles. We're not going to bother. It's too much work. Also, the proof of the cosine law. This is like some mathematical argument to demonstrate that this is the proper equation, we're not going to bother with that. So we're just going to jump to page 169, and this is class example 2. So this is where you want to be. Okay? Everyone's with me? Steph Blooms, you got that phone put away, please? Okay. Everyone's good? I just don't want to start if you're not ready. All right. Trinity, you with us? All right. So the first thing I want you to do is write on the side here SAS. SAS. You can see that the angle of 36 degrees is squished between the 6 and the 3. That's a side angle side, so I know I have to use the cosine law. All right. I'm going to write down the formula that you would see on your data sheet. So, again, from your data sheet, I'm just going to jot down what you would be probably jotting down on your test. A squared equals b squared plus c squared. It looks a lot like the Pythagorean theorem, but then there's this extra 2bc cosine a. This is the cosine law, yeah. It is a bit nasty, but I'm going to tell you how to use it. That's the hardest part. Writing it down is an easy thing to do. So I'll just quickly use my pointer. The little letters, A, B, and C, the little letters, those represent sides. Do you see how you know 2 of the 3 sides? So the ones that you know, you can replace with the B and the C. And this is, you guys okay? We're trying to find A there. And it just so happens that it all perfectly works out. The triangle is labeled ABC. My A is the unknown. It's not always going to be like that. Yep, it will be. But I'm just trying to hesitate and warn you that it's not always going to be perfect. Like the next one has PQR. So you don't have a formula for PQR. So how are we going to do this? I just want you to know that if you're trying to solve for a missing side, that's going to be the unknown, whether it's labeled A, P, or Q, whatever it is. Okay? Now, if you're using a nice calculator, the cosine law is a breeze. So you got this thing here? Okay. Yeah. Come. The right-hand side, you can literally type it in exactly how you see it. Make sure you're in which mode? Degree mode. So hopefully you have a calculator and you're following along. So the way that I've written it there is exactly how you can write it in the calculator. And you have to be in degree mode. Okay. So the next step is 15 point in this like 875 business, right? Very nice. And then you just square root it. You guys are getting so advanced. So again, yeah, I know here a lot of people saying 4. That's awesome. Nearest tenth. So this 8, that 8 would round up that 9, and you'd have 4.0. You should be following along on the calculator, making sure that you can do that as well. Otherwise, it's one thing to write down the notes. It's another thing to actually do it. And it's another thing to do it on your own without me. Everyone was okay with that? Those notes? Are you in degree mode? Okay. Let's try this next one. Oh, you need those notes? Yeah, hit enter there. And then you go second mode. Okay, let's do class example 3 now. All right, eyes on me. Kalela, you with us? Don't just do your own work, please. You're following along? Okay, all right. Okay, let's get in what they want. Right here. Fill this in. So 1.7 goes here. 3.1 goes there. I don't think anyone in this classroom would have an issue with that. However, some of you will forget this one. It's the Q because it's good, the middle one. You guys are impressing me. Now you will see that this triangle is a situation where you have SAS. Not SWAS, but SAS. All right, so it's a good way to remember it. Sometimes you can make it a little bit silly and you might remember it. All right, so please, so that everybody can have success, all you have to do is just jot down the cosine law. At least start there. And now you have to fill in what goes where. So is it obvious what B and C are? Okay. That's like half the battle. It's the two sides that you know. And you can just fill them in wherever you see a B and a C, replace with a bracket and the value. All right. So what's capital A? Good. Because which side are we trying to solve for? The P, it's not a hypotenuse because it's not right angled, but I get what you're saying. You're trying to find PR, right? And what's PR opposite of? Q. So if you're going to put 110 right here, it has to be opposite of that, which is this PR, which we can call little q. Okay, I'm just going to Parker. Just relax. All right, so here we go. I'm just going to demo this one time. 1.7 squared plus, help me out, 3.1. And then you got the minus 2 times 1.7 times 3.1 times the cosine of 110. Now before I hit enter, I'm just going to do a quick check on my mode. I'm in the degree mode. This is good. I can hit second mode to quit out of that. I can hit enter. Remember, that solves for q squared. So now I can go second function, answer. second function square, and then second function answers down here. If you have the nicer ones, you can just go up and highlight. Yeah, copy paste. So q squared was like 16 point what? And then q is 4 point what? 4.0? Okay. Okay? All centimeters? You guys feeling okay about that? Okay. Now, for some nasty. Okay, it says Bellevue. Not to be confused with Clairview. It's 30 kilometers north of Ayr. How do you feel about that? Is that translation okay? Is B north of A by 30? All right. Okay. Now, church, so C is 18 kilometers northwest of Ayr. So, northwest. Never eat soggy wheat. Wheat. So northwest, I gotta go up and left. Ay, ay, ay. Calculate the distance between Bellevue and Churchville. Now northwest, do you guys know northwest? What angle would that be? Yeah, it's halfway, right? Half of the 90. So 45 degrees in there. So that's how you know that this guy here is 45. Some of you probably do that no problem, right? I'm not trying to yeah, I just got to put it up there. So, oh boy, I'm really having troubles today. Okay, so let's fill this in. We know that it's going to be 18 square and 30 square, right? I'm sort of skipping the first step because I got it up here. So I'm just going to follow this formula from up here. Okay? So minus 2 times 18 times 30 and cosine 45. And this will solve for little a squared. So a squared 460, 0.32 blah blah blah. Square root both sides. .45, good. So then it says nearest kilometer. So then we'd have to make this 21. All three of those questions we just did, they're all the same question. They're all cosine law, sine angle side, trying to solve for the only unknown side. So they're all SAS, and they're all unknown side. Okay, guys, all we have to do is a variation of the formula. Now this one is if those last questions, what were we solving for? Missing sides, right? So this one is if you don't know the angle. This is this alternative form. So on your data sheet, you'll get both of these. So there's no need to stress. Okay, you will get both of those. The second one is for solving for angles. The first one is for sides. How do you know that you need to use the second form of the cosine law, this alternative form? What you're going to be looking for is not the sound of a snake. Side, side, side. Beautiful. All right. So let's try this. Determine the largest angle in triangle ABC. This is going to be a little bit tough if you sketch it inappropriately. So you got A is about 15, so I'm just going to go like that. 14.7. Now I need to connect B and C to make a triangle. So you want to draw a slightly smaller side than 14.7 like that. And then this one would be the 8.9. Yeah. So there is a little bit of leeway there. And you're going to have to estimate which one do you think is the largest. Left, right, or bottom. That's what they want for some odd reason. I would never give you a question like this. I would tell you exactly which angle to find. And why is it the bottom one? Yeah, good. And the proper word for that would be obtuse. It's like just past 90. It's not the other ones which are acute, right? Which makes sense. If you think back to like Pythagoras, the 90 is across the hypotenuse, the longest side. So the largest angle is across the largest side. You just tell by looking at it, yeah. But now we have to determine that angle. So I'll just have you do what we did on the last one. Just jot down the formula. Cosine capital A. You have this b squared plus c squared minus a squared over 2bc. This is the alternative form. It's at the top of your page. And this is the one for solving for the angle. That should say cos. Yeah, there we go. Now, the hardest part here is just making sure you put the numbers in the right spot. So, this is clearly going to be capital A. Why? Because you're looking for it. Now, what's directly across from that one? Little a. So that must mean the other two are B and C, and it doesn't matter which one's which. Okay? So then you have cosine A. So this 12.6 squared plus this 8.9 squared minus this 14.7 squared all over 2, 12.6, and 8.9. The other way that you can think about this is it's also side angle side, in a sense. Like it's side, side, side to get this situation, but it's also side angle side to help you with the formula. Like in the formula you have two that are positive and then one that's negative. So which two are the ones that are going to be the positive squares? The ones that make up the side angle side. That's another way to remember it. You can also think, well, it's directly across, so that's the negative one. So how could you screw this up? What's the only way you could screw this up? If you put these in the wrong spot. Okay? If you put these in the wrong spot. Okay? Now, for the calculator, I would recommend that you do this one in a couple, yeah, very nice. You should be a teacher. What I would recommend is that you do the top separately from the bottom. That's how I would do this. So I got a 12.6 squared plus, help me, 8.9 squared, and then we're going to subtract 14.7 squared. So that's the top value. Now what's the bottom value? 2 times 12.6 and 8.9. Thank you guys. You're being so kind. That's the bottom number. 2BC, right? Don't lie to me. That's the next step, right? So, you did the top and the bottom separately. Sorry, I'll go back to the black ink. Cosine A. The top number was? And the bottom number was? 2.8? All right. So that's just a ratio, right? And you have cosine A equals some number. How do you get A? Second function. Yeah, second function cos. You can resolve this ratio if you want, but at this point, I would be just doing this. Inverse cos cancels that, so inverse cos of this. And then that solves for A. So what number did you guys get? 84.4. Okay, so it's not bad. Our sketch was not bad. It looks like we only have one more to do. Only have one more to do. Now, this class example 7 will be how I test you. It'll be like very straightforward. Find one of these, okay? And more often than not, I will give you a picture because that's just the kind of guy I am. It is, right? So, you got P, R, Q, and you got all the sides. So before we even read it, is it SSS or SAS? So just jot that in there. So that tells me that it's cosine law star, because it's the alternative version. Cosine star. We're just trying to find an angle. So I wonder which angle they want. Determine the angle between the directions of the two ships. So what does it say? Two ships set sail from port P. One goes that way and the other goes that way. So they want this angle here. So they want P. Now, I wouldn't try to like put the PRQ into the formula. I would just write down the formula from your data sheet. Now, all you have to do is identify which places do 7, 8, and 13 go. So I want P, right? Cosine P. So which one's directly across P? 13. So which one becomes negative? Yeah. And the two that make up the side angle side, right? Side angle side, those are the ones that'll be positive. So you have a 7 squared plus a 8 squared minus a 13 squared all over this 2 times 7 times 8. I do them separately. 7 squared plus 8 squared minus 13 squared. It's okay to get negatives. It is. And the bottom number, 2 times 7 times 8, 112. Now, negative is okay. Now we do the second function of cos of this negative 56 over 112. So if you get a negative, don't freak out, that's okay. 120, that is what type of angle? Obtuse. It is a big one. It's bigger than 90. Does it make sense that this is 120 degrees? What if you calculated this to be 120 degrees? Would that make any sense? Yeah, it's acute. Good job, you guys. Good job. So there is a little bit of number sense in there. So please do your homework. All this section, there is 2 quizzes for this. You have a finding a side quiz and finding an angle quiz.